Welcome to the Good Talk Podcast, where we remind you of the joy of life, the love of God, and the possibilities that lie ahead. Pete and Jordyn here.
Season 2.
Kicking off season 2.
Woo-hoo.
We're back.
We actually came back.
And we're back.
You know, I was thinking that this morning. Back again.
Who is that?
Oh, dang it.
We're back.
I don't know.
Back again.
We're going to get so much hate for not knowing that. Is it Eminem?
Eminem. I think it's Eminem.
Yes. Okay, good. Yeah, season 2. We had our baby.
We did.
By we, I mean me.
She had
entirely
she had the
me.
Baby. Yes, she did.
Oh my gosh, it was a really great
I
experience.
bet it's weird for people watching this on YouTube right now because the last episode they saw, you were like
huge,
great with child.
Yes,
you said huge, not me. I just said great with child.
No more baby belly.
The baby bump is gone.
But yeah, we had her on July 27th. She was born 6 pounds, 14 ounces, and she was born in the morning. But it was awesome. It was really smooth. We had a really quick delivery, which was awesome. Huge blessing.
We actually have a, would you call that a delivery video? What would you call that?
No.
Well, not of the
birth story.
The birth story. The birth story
you're
on
not
YouTube.
Gonna see any
you can watch
delivery.
that on YouTube.
Yes, that's on our YouTube channel. You'll see it. It's Pepper's birth story. Her name is officially Pepper. For all of you that went on that journey of, are we actually going to name her Pepper? We did. we
did
it.
For it. We went all in.
So she might hate us later in life, but we are loving it. So.
Oh gosh, she's changed her life.
Yeah, she's the best. I
mean,
love her.
I still can't even get used to saying I have 4 kids.
Oh, I know. I'm sure. That's weird.
I know. I love it though.
Little
Gosh,
girl.
I love it. The boys have been so awesome with her.
Yeah, they've been really good.
Gage, my middle son, babysat last weekend for the first time.
For 15 minutes. I ran to Kroger and I was like, Gage, are you sure? He's 17. It's like, are you sure? You don't have to do this. Like, I can take her with me. It's like, no. I'm good. And he did great.
Yeah.
She stayed all.
And you were going
calm. I was
to Kroger to buy flowers
a
for
mile
his
away.
girlfriend that he was taking to homecoming.
Right. Yeah, that's true. He probably had an agenda to letting me me go.
I love it. All right, so I have a couple questions for you before we get into today's content.
Yeah.
Of just about this, because you're a mom for the first time. Mm-hmm. You've been a bonus mom for a while, but this is your first baby. And so how do you feel like being a mom has changed you the most?
Oh, gosh. I was thinking about this the other day. I feel like it's made me, for obviously my capacity to love, I feel like is bigger, and different. Obviously, like a child's love is different than any other kind of love, I think. But I think the biggest thing for me is like a different level of compassion for people.
Wow. How so? I mean, why would
I think I look at this baby who is just, and to me, perfect, and to me can do no wrong in my eyes. I think the unconditional love in that capacity, I'm like, I'll look at someone else who society may outcast, or who is going through a hard time, or who I may not personally like, and think they're somebody's child.
Oh, that's
right?
So interesting.
So it's like...
So you picture them, there was a time that they were this baby that could do no wrong and felt nothing but love. Yeah. But something has happened in their life where they were hurt or disappointed or rejected. And so their harshness or their edge is not them.
It came from something.
Oh, Jordyn, that's deep. We're going to do a whole episode on that.
No, I don't know. To me, I was picturing one day someone not liking Pepper, or Pepper going through a hard time, or Pepper getting a divorce, or Pepper, something, that society would be like, oh, that's bad, and thinking, oh my gosh, but I don't care. I will love her unconditionally. And so I don't know. I see people a little bit differently.
Wow. That is great. That's really, really good. I kind of want to just scrap what we were going to talk about and talk about that.
No.
What surprised you the most?
Now on a very practical level, just like how much it hijacks your whole schedule, your whole routine. You and I are 2 very routine people. I think we've talked about this in the past. We get up at the same time. Pete has his morning routine. I have mine. I have my exercise routine. I work from this to this. I go exercise. We do dinner at this time. Then we have, and so she has obviously completely turned that upside down. And I knew that was coming. Everyone tells you that's coming, but until it's your life, I think it's just, it doesn't feel like it's hard to prepare for that. So I think just learning to be flexible has been a big thing for me. And also trying to find my identity, not in her and not in work and not in performing. Like I forever kind of found my identity in my work and how did I contribute? Am I enough? And now I have her. And my contribution there is huge too. It's no lesser, but in my type 3 brain, I'm like, oh, but where can I contribute everywhere else? So
that's good. That's really good. Yeah, I the schedule thing for me too, because I've obviously been a dad for a long time, but all 3 of my boys are at a point now where I can reason with them.
Yeah.
So they have requests of me that absolutely can throw my schedule off.
Yeah.
But I can also push back and be like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I can do that, but you got to give me an hour and then I'm there. And you can't do that with Pepper. There's no, hey,
give
Pepper,
me an hour.
I know you're hungry. Give me 30 minutes and I'll be there.
Yeah. Hey, I know you're trying to wake up at 2 a.m.
And so I forgot about what that's like to, I don't want to say be a slave to her needs and desires, but to some degree, like she has a need and she lets you know about it instantly. She doesn't have the capacity to be like, oh, I don't want to bother you right now. Give me
It's 2 a.m. I'll let them sleep. It's fine.
Yeah, so that's great. All right. This is a question that's kind of leading into where I want to go today, this conversation. But have you broken any rules when it comes to being a mom? In other words, are there some things that you went into saying, oh, you can't do this, or you can't do that, or you must do this, or you must do that, and you've broken the rule already 8 weeks in?
I've probably broken lots of rules and not even know it. I heard from a lot of people, and listen, different things work for different people. So this is not me saying this is how I do it and everyone should do it. But a lot of people were like, hey, if the baby's crying or upset, especially in the middle of the night, like let them just keep crying and eventually they'll put themselves to sleep. And I had heard that 100 times. I believed it forever. And I'm not saying I don't believe it now, but it was not something I got behind. And they're like, if you hold them too much, they'll get spoiled and blah, blah, blah. There's some truth to everything, I think, out there. But I read this article, I guess a couple weeks ago, and I had been putting it into practice anyways, but basically talking about how babies under the age of 18 months don't have person permanence, which means they don't understand that when you leave that you're coming back. They don't have their brain is not matured yet, right?
Yeah.
It's not developed enough to know.
Just in the other room.
No, or you're literally next to them in the bed when they're in the bassinet. Like they don't have that understanding of rationale and oh, mom's coming back or dad's coming back. So it's in like I think the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex, but it's like they don't know how to soothe themselves. So what they end up doing is it's a defense mechanism of putting themselves to sleep. So it's like their body eventually just in a defense shuts down and puts them to sleep. So it's not like, oh, they're soothing themselves. It's actually defense. So, hey, that's an article I read. Please don't come at me if that's not right, but it's working for us. She is not a crying baby. So that's probably another thing. We don't have to let her cry it out very much anyways, but yeah, that's mine.
That's funny. That was mine too. That's the biggest rule I feel like I've broke. Because back when my kids were real little, my first 3, there was a very popular program that was all about you got to let your kids cry it out, which is fine. And like you said,
probably works
if there's anything we've learned in the past like 8 weeks, or actually in the past like 10 months, because it started as soon as we announced you were pregnant, everybody has an opinion about how you should raise your kids, right? Everybody. So you do you, right? Whatever works for you. But we had followed that program, that whole idea of let them cry it out. And so I felt like, and I'm not saying that program said this, but I, in my mind, had this rule, you can't just pick them up every time they cry, or you can't hold them too much because they'll be spoiled and they won't learn to like go to sleep on their own or blah, 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 blah. And I have really just thrown that rule out the window, and I hold Pepper every single chance I get.
No,
and I don't care.
Yeah, she's doing really great, and if
awesome.
she was super fussy and whiny and not sleeping in her bassinet, we'd probably change things. But we're good for now. We're good for now. So breaking the rules.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about today, is breaking the rules. And when do you break the rules, and when do you not break the rules, and why do you break the rules? And there's this thing that says, some people say this: rules are made to be broke. I don't really necessarily subscribe to that thought that rules are made to be broke, but I do think there are times that you do need to break the rules, because I think rules sometimes lend themselves to a lack of flexibility. Rules hinder creativity at times. They hinder our ability to solve problems, and I'll tell you where this idea came from. We'll let you guys behind the scenes a little bit of what's been going on in our life in the past month. We took a break from the podcast, which we thought would be really healthy.
We thought it'd be like 4 weeks.
When Pepper was born. We didn't put a time on it. If you can go back to listen to the last episode, we were like, not exactly sure. Yeah. I think I might have said 3 or 4 weeks. I think you did,
and I was like, oh, okay.
But we really didn't have a time limit. But in our minds, we were like 3 to 4 weeks. And 3 or 4 weeks came around, and we weren't ready to start it back up.
No.
We just weren't.
We didn't have the flexibility.
And part of so here was the problem for me. When we started our podcast, we did a lot of research, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we discovered was if you want a new podcast to get traction, if you want it to grow, which obviously we do.
Of course,
right?
Yeah.
Then there's a rhythm to it. And one of the rhythms they talked about is you need to release your episodes consistently. Like pick a day you're going to release and do it every week, right? At least every week. And we did that for 6 months.
Longer than that.
7 months, 8 months. I don't know, but
8 months.
8 months. We did that. We released an episode every week, and that algorithm works. They were right? So we had this rule that if you're going to do a podcast, you release an episode every week. For me, I won't speak for you, but for me, in this season of our life, when I thought about that rule of, wow, when you guys go back to season 2 and you relaunch this podcast, you're going to have to do that every week. That rule for me was overwhelming, and I didn't want to restart this podcast.
It kept us paralyzed.
Kept me paralyzed. I just thought, this podcast does not fit into our lifestyle anymore. It just doesn't. We've got a baby. We're juggling multiple jobs, and it was like, it just doesn't fit. And so the rule paralyzed me.
Yeah.
The rule enslaved me and kept us from restarting the podcast.
Yeah. Even though we both love it, and I thought it's an opportunity for us to do something together, but also to hopefully provide encouragement and hope to people. And so it was really we were in a rock and a hard place. It was like, oh, we really want to do this, but we can't do it at the capacity of what we thought was excellence. We can't do this in an excellent way. But we realized that was kind of our rule that we made for ourselves.
Yeah.
So
we were like, let's break the rule and let's do an episode. Let's do the first season or the second season, first episode, and just see. Let's see if we remember how to do this. Let's see if it's as enjoyable as we remember it being. And so far, it has been.
Yeah.
And you know what? We'll may try to do another one next week. But if it doesn't fit, we have some other priorities that. Yeah. To be honest with you, as important as this podcast is to us, it's not our number one priority in our life right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's probably just because, again, we have a newborn who hijacks our days. So, yesterday she got a fever and I had all these plans and I was like, I have to sit on the couch with her for the entire day, which I love doing, but it put a ton of stuff back. So that's an example. Yeah. We're not just trying to be like, I don't know, if we get to it, we get to it. It's truly just, we're doing our best, and that's our best is
and we're okay breaking that rule.
Yeah.
We're okay breaking that rule.
Yeah.
We would love to have an episode every week, and we're going to try, but if we don't, we're okay breaking that rule. And I that's what I want to talk about. What are the different rules that all of us have in our life that trip us up?
Yeah.
And again, most of them, and this is a great example of it, most of them aren't actually rules. They're expectations, they're suggestions, they're opinions. That's the way it's always been done. Mm-hmm. That's what's worked in the past. I'll give you some examples, right? Some different rules that we've had in our culture. You got to work out 5 days a week if you're really going to make any progress. You can't eat this or that ever. Mm-hmm. Don't ever eat meat or don't ever eat a carb, right? You have to work 40 hours a week. You have to work in an office if you're going to be productive. Mm. These are just some different rules that we've had, right? And sometimes it's okay to break the rules. Rules rarely are facts. They're usually theories. Rules are theories that were created based on the available information at the time they were created. And then information changes, mm-hmm. right? And so maybe the rule has to change. This is why I think it's important to understand the purpose of the rule right? More than it is to follow the rule.
Yeah.
What's the purpose behind it? So I have some questions for you.
For me?
No, for everybody.
Okay. I was like, oh, no, more questions.
Sorry, I was talking like to the camera. But
okay.
So a couple questions. When you think about the different rules that you have in your life, I think you should ask, number one, is this absolutely true? True, right? Is this rule absolutely true? Question number two, is this rule limiting me? And then question number three is, am I ready to accept the consequences that come with breaking it? So let me put like the decision we made to relaunch the podcast, right? The rule that we were that was paralyzing us was you need to release an episode every week. Is that absolutely true? No, I don't think it is. I know some podcasts that do extremely well that do not follow that algorithm of releasing an episode every week. So no, it's not absolutely true. It might be a best practice,
right?
But I wouldn't say it's a rule. Question number two, is this rule limiting me? Yes, that rule was limiting us. It paralyzed us. We couldn't relaunch because it felt overwhelming to say to ourselves, we have to do one every week.
Yeah.
And then question number three, am I ready to accept the consequences that come with breaking that rule? Yeah, I am totally okay if we're only able to get an episode or two out a month. That, in my mind, is serving those of us who listen to this podcast in a much better way than not doing anything at all.
Right. Yeah, no, that's so true. It like literally made me cringe when you said that once or twice a month. But you're right. Like it's my own expectation of myself. It's like I'm holding myself to a standard that other people may not be, you know?
Yeah. So I don't think rules are made to break. I do think rules always need to be evaluated. I mean, I'll speak positive for a second about rules. Rules are there for a reason, right? So I actually think that breaking a rule should probably be a last resort. Like, I don't think you should immediately jump when you see a rule to breaking the rule. Like, so there's rules in writing and grammar and music composition and artistic composition and marketing and business management. There's rules in relationships, right? And the rules that people usually follow exist for a good reason. Most of the time, they have worked. And stepping outside of a rule usually requires more energy and more forethought and more planning and more creativity. It requires more work. So, you may have a rule that you need to break, but I don't think just because you see a rule, you should have the attitude of, I'm going to break that.
Right. Yeah. These are like things that are limiting your potential, I think. Yep. Like these are the decisions that you're making for yourself that are ultimately limiting you because of either fear, worry, expectation. That's like the practical application to me. It's like what in your life is paralyzing you because you think that there's an expectation of you, and then go through those three questions. I think that's where I land.
Yeah. Some other rules I thought of that I just kind of jotted down in the notes are rules like live for the weekend, never mix business with pleasure, don't speak unless you're spoken to, keep your thoughts to yourself, the grass isn't greener on the other side. Actually, sometimes the grass is greener on the other side.
Sometimes it is.
Right?
Yeah.
You need the right qualifications to do that. Don't be needy. I'll tell you one of the most dominating rules that I have followed in my life is don't disappoint other people.
Heck yeah.
And that, in many ways, caused
you disappointed
so
yourself
much
over and over and over and over and over.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I really thought I must at all costs make people happy. And I felt personally responsible for the emotional well-being of all the people around me. And I carried that rule into every scenario, every friendship, every social interaction. And I thought I had to follow that rule in order to be a good person, in order to make a difference, in order to have value and worth. And breaking that rule felt like it was going to break me.
But you realize the years and years, probably decades of you pleasing other people over caring for yourself was just depleting you until you broke.
Absolutely. It held me completely hostage.
Yeah.
There's some rules that need to be broken. Some rules are keeping you from getting started. Some rules are keeping you from improving. Some rules are keeping you imprisoned. So I want to give everybody a rule exercise real quick.
Okay.
Because I'm a firm believer, if you're listening to this right now, there's probably at least one rule in your life that you need to break. And I would love,
rule / expectation.
Yeah. I'm using rule just because that's the terminology we used from the beginning. But you're right. A rule could be, it's probably not a law. It's probably an expectation. It's something you've probably created in your mind, or you've heard.
Or someone has put on you. Yeah.
So here's the exercise I want to give you. I think this is so important for all of us to do this. I would encourage you to first start by making a list of your perceived rules in your life, right? Just make a list of the perceived rules. I'm not saying that they're true, it's perceived, right? So again, when I listed my rule of don't disappoint people, I knew in my mind that wasn't true, but I was still following it, right? And that's where true mental torture comes from. These things, these rules that we believe are true, but actually fundamentally we know they're not true.
Yeah.
But we continue to follow it, right? So make a list of your perceived rules in your life right now.
Okay.
All right. Second step, ask. And we talked about this earlier. Ask, is it true? And then maybe follow that up by saying, is it absolutely true? Right?
Because your gut is like, yeah, it's true. You know, like that's your initial, oh yeah, of course it's true. Because you've told yourself it for years probably, you know, it's like, but then stop and say, absolutely, is this true? Is this like provable?
Yep. Step 3, question each rule to see if it's actually serving you. So, you know, again, it's a simple illustration, but the one that we were talking about of we got to do a podcast every single week, was that rule serving us? No. Not, again, rules work until they don't work.
Yeah.
That worked for us. That worked for us for 8 months. That was a great algorithm. It was a great practice. That was a great suggestion. It was a great theory. But now we had some new facts in our life. We had a new routine in our life. We had new priorities in our life. So it works until it doesn't work. So again, step 3 is question each rule to see if it's actually serving you. And then step 4 is ask yourself if you're willing to accept the consequences of breaking that rule. Because there will be some consequences.
Yeah. And consequences sometimes sounds super negative, I think. Sometimes it's just like change, you know, and sometimes change is okay. Like I'm sitting here thinking, I don't want you to answer this. Maybe I'm hijacking this. But like a rule for each of us that we're currently believing for ourselves, our expectation that we're currently believing for ourselves. Mine is to be a good mom. You have to just be present all the time. And like, long story short, I'm also working. We have a business we're working on. And so when I'm working on my business, I feel like I'm not being really present with Pepper. And then when I'm really present with Pepper, I feel like I'm not a good contributor. And
Boy,
so
I bet there's a lot of moms who identify with that.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like in either capacity, I don't feel like I am worthy enough. Right. So like, I'm not the best mom or I'm not the best worker. So that's a limiting expectation that I have on myself of when I'm with Pepper. Oh, but you're not a good worker. You're not contributing enough. And then when I'm contributing, oh, you're neglecting Pepper. Pepper's sitting there in her little swing, you know, staring at you, and you could be more present with her. And so I think that's something I have to deal with. But when I think of the word consequence, it's not consequence, you know, it's like, it's just change for me. It's like, am I okay to deal with the change? Yes. You know, so I don't know. That's just my thing. What's yours? What's your limit or your expectation that you're trying to break?
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about that. I mean, my example was this as far as the rule that I'm breaking. I would say that's
your biggest one.
That's the biggest one right now.
That's good.
I mean,
Sorry, I hijacked your content really quickly.
No, I think that's great. I think again, you got to make a list of what are the perceived rules.
Yeah.
You know, what are the rules that, you know, you need to break. Step 2 is ask, is it true? Is it absolutely true? Step 3 is question each rule to see if it's actually serving you. And step 4 is ask yourself if you're willing to accept the consequences, or as you put it, accept the change that will come along with breaking that rule.
Yeah, that's good. Let's break some rules.
I'm all about it. Like, I really am. Now you got me thinking, because I need to, again, I just wrote that exercise out this morning. I haven't actually done that except for in that one particular area. I do want to go back and say, okay, what are the rules that I've kind of bought into throughout my life to say, you know, you have to do this if you're going to be successful. You have to do this if you're going to be a good husband. You have to do this if you're going to be a good dad. You have to do this if you're going to be a good friend. Man, there's probably dozens of rules in each area that we've created that And I think we gravitate towards rules because it's easy. You don't have to think. Someone tells you this is the way you do this, your mind's going to gravitate towards what's easiest, what's laid out for you, right? It's the path of least resistance. Follow the rule. Again, to break the rule takes more creativity, it takes more thought, it takes more work. And that's probably why so many of us just gravitate towards, I just follow the rules.
And I think like maybe you're sitting there like, I don't know about any that are current, but I have broken rules in the past. I think those questions are also healing to walk through. So like maybe you had a marriage that ended or a friendship that ended, or, you know, something that you feel like you broke a rule. Walking through those, like, am I a bad person because I blank? No. Is that true? No. Is that absolutely true? No. You know, I feel like you can also walk through those questions and almost kind of go through like a little bit of a healing journey for things that you feel like in the past you have not met expectations to.
Yeah. I just thought of one. I thought of a great one.
What?
That has created some good in my life. The rule that friends are friends forever. No, not necessarily. Some are. I've had friends that have been friends since childhood. I've also had some friends that we had a great friendship for a season. It served each other well.
Yeah.
And we've kind of gone on different paths and in different ways. And there wasn't a major blow up or anything. We just kind of went different paths.
And it's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah. It's not like a toxic thing, or it's not like you don't like that person anymore.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Friends aren't friends forever.
Some are.
Michael W. Smith lied to us. Remember? Friends are friends forever.
Oh, God.
If the Lord's the Lord of them. And a friend will not say never.
Rule for Pete Wilson, you should not sing. Just kidding. JK, but kind of. No, I think that's a really good one. Good example. Good stuff. I like it. Breaking rules.
It feels good to be back.
It does. And we're back. Back again.
Why are we singing so much?
I don't know.
Because we got some sleep this week.
Yeah. Oh,
Pepper
my gosh.
finally, like,
yeah.
I mean, not all through the night, but just getting up once.
She slept 6 hours total, like in one block. And we are like have so much life.
Yeah. We have missed this, and we've missed you guys.
Yeah.
And we're really grateful to be back and looking forward to hearing from you guys. As always, if you rate and review this podcast, if you haven't, that means the world to us. It's very helpful. It's not a rule, but it is super helpful to us. And we're just really grateful to have the opportunity to continue to do this podcast. And thank you guys so much for being a part of it. So may the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord show you his favor and give you his peace.